Light is a binary phenomenon. It is either on or off, projected or received, reflected or absorbed. When it is created, it produces shadow in its absence. Light is never destroyed. It simply lends its energy to the matter it is absorbed by. Streams of photons saturate the surfaces of our world, building the spaces of our existence through their presence and influence. This is no profound statement. It is merely the truth of our illuminated reality. Humans were designing with the consideration of light long before the practice of architecture was an established trade. Structures calibrated for specific dates and times, intended to draw their inhabitants' attention to their inclusion of the sun's luminous energy. Since primordial times, communities have worked to frame and capture the complex pattern and relative movement of our star in tangible form. These temporal monuments span the globe, standing as representations of our everlasting quest to understand the rhythm of our existence. Ancient sundials, markers of celestial progression. From Utah to Karnak, Chichen Itza to Newgrange. The ancestors of modernity constructed palaces in reverence of light, creating and curating a cohabitation between brilliance and form, forever joining the two in this practice of spatial design. As time has marched on and our collective global society has progressed, our relationship with light has become less of an intercourse and more of a domineering control. We've moved past the intimacy of its inclusion in our spaces and the temporal aspects of natural light, which once led our ritualistic relations with days and seasons. Our favor has swayed towards the artificial illumination of our once umbral nights. In our becoming of nocturnal creatures, however, we have evolved past the limitation of day, increasing our ability to interact with the temporal facets of our cyclical world. A feat impossible without the generation of our own luminous bodies. Our primeval fascination with fire has tied its purity, warmth, and brilliance to representations of godliness and power throughout the ages. It is a symbol of resilience, knowledge, and inspiration, the only of the four elements we can produce ourselves. The flame is an exhibition of both strength and liberty. 4 millennia ago, fires constructed for naval guidance were first deployed on hills surrounding coastal encampments, cliff-top sentinels to bring vessels into shore. The pyres of stick and reed developed swiftly into more permanent structures, the first lighthouses of the growing world. With the advancement of societies and technologies, it seems inevitable that the lighthouse would evolve into more than the burning markers they originated from. Functioning simply as indicators of the entrances of ports and harbors, it wasn't until the turn of the 18th century that they began to serve as warning signals to ward ships from reefs and promontories. For nearly 4,000 years, the structures had remained relatively stagnant in form and purpose, varying in height and complexity, yet still working through the continuous stoking of their flames with wood and coal. The first major improvement to the lighthouse system came with the development of the argand lamp, a source of illumination that produced a steady flame through the slow and constant feed and burning of natural oils. For over a century, the argand lamp was the primary illuminator utilized by these beacons worldwide, providing more consistency during a period of flourishing transatlantic trade. Although eventually replaced by lighting systems favoring electric and gas-powered lamps, M. Argan's creation undisputedly paved the way for the modern illuminators used today. Despite significant functional improvements and the crucial nature of the structures, directional clarity was still lacking from the lighthouses of the industrial era. There was a present need for a method to concentrate the radiance of the light source into a more defined and distant projection. Rudimentary solutions began to be employed in the latter part of the 1700s through the use of catoptric systems. However, the optical standards of the lighthouse were truly revolutionized half a century later. The Invention That Saved a Million Ships, a common title given to the Fresnel lens. Through the circular arrangement of an array of curved prisms around a central flat lens, Augustin Fresnel designed a method of increasing the distance of a lighthouse's throw while simultaneously magnifying the luminosity of its light source by a factor of 4. The use of the composite compact design of the Fresnel lens is still the standard for lighthouses today, and has been adopted to serve innumerable other purposes in the realm of illumination. As we've come into this age of digital and satellite navigation, lighthouses have fallen slightly in their importance in the safeguarding of mariners and seafarers. A majority of those which still stand today do continue to operate, sweeping their beams across the sea to serve as a reliable and nearly infallible analog backup. Sending out constant exigent flashes towards both water and land, the attention of their spotlights find purchase on surfaces natural and constructed, brightening the dark with their metronomic brilliance. For those who live along the coast and reside within the radius of one of these artificial suns, the projections of lighthouses are an unavoidable inclusion to the night, an accidental repercussion of their 4,000 years of evolution. Although the repetitive flood of light into space may seem to become an annoyance in its ceaseless rotation, there is beauty in the understanding of these coastline sentinels, and a potential for our interaction with their shore-strewn surplus. As proven by the lighthouse system, the curation of light into a focused form has been achieved almost to the point of mastery. So could the next step not be to explore a method of qualifying this coastal excess as more than the brief and rhythmic illumination it is? Through the orientation of our spaces, the objects within them, and their relation to each other, a flash has the capacity to become so much more. Anthropomorphized by the angle of reflection, diffraction providing a separation of the very waves constituting the beam, the production of infinite and irreplicable generative space. There is depth to be found in the contrast between illumined surfaces and their shadowy counterparts. A perpetually shifting world more complex and incomprehensible than our tangible reality. Hidden in the momentary echoes of light. The cultivation of this non-place could require an intensive consideration of our spatial and material organizations, but seems to be a feasible experiment nonetheless.